Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore. And as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team, and Andrea Waters King and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
It's Monday, January 26th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. And welcome to those listening on Sirius XM. Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation. It is Hot Button Monday, and there's a lot of hot stuff to talk about. And we going to open up the phones and let you share with the nation and other parts of the world your thoughts, your analysis, your commentaries. All you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797 or go on our live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net and do what Bruce Turner just did. Send me a message. I'll read it on the air. Bruce Turner saying, Hot Button Monday, and it's hot in here. Hello, Rev and Nan chat group. Email or call the GOP House and Senate. This is their mess. Now, let me tell you what Turner talking about, because that's one of the top stories in the world today. And we did a lot on it last night on Politics Nation. That's why you should watch every Saturday and Sunday, because we were the first and only one all weekend to get Keith Ellison State Attorney General of Minnesota, on my show last night. Young man, 37 years old, ironically the same age as Renee Good, who they killed, ICE killed in Minneapolis, helps a woman that they had pushed down. They grab him, and he has a licensed gun in his pocket, was not brandishing the gun, had a cell phone in one hand, helping the lady with the other. They see the gun and shoot at him 9 or 10 times and kill him. They come out lying he is an urban terrorist, same thing they did with Renee Good, and that the police were defending themselves. But the problem they have, they being the ICE and DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is that people were filming the whole thing. And by now, many of you, if not all of you, have seen the tapes. Clearly, he did not have a gun out. Clearly, he was not brandishing a gun. And clearly, it did not take 9 bullets to stop him. The president got on social media, his Truth Social page, called a man a name and said that the police, the ICE were operating in self-defense. Videos don't show that. Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, says in self-defense and that they are dealing with it, that the federal government was not going to share their investigation with Minnesota. They're doing this and the Good case, just them. That's why I had a State Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, on last night to say, and I reminded everybody I was involved in that. The government, federal government, worked with the state on the George Floyd case. So why wouldn't you work with it now? And to kill somebody in the state of Minnesota is a state crime as well as a federal crime. And Keith has said, even if they don't let me in, when they get finished, even if they exonerate this guy, it doesn't stop me or preclude me from coming in with state charges. But it'd be better if we work together. Many of us are saying now, and I'm included, that when you see what happened with Good, now you see what happens with the young man they killed day before yesterday now, that Mr. Alex Pretty. Good to Pretty. They need to get rid of ICE. ICE is absolutely untrained, unskilled, causing deaths. ICE needs to be abolished. Now, remember, we got to do something about immigration. Well, you need a whole new model. ICE is not the answer. And I was on a conference, Zoom, last night, where the 8 legacy civil rights organizations, and all of us are coming out with a statement saying that we support the Senate. I was on Morning Joe this morning, Senator Raphael Warnock. The Senate ought to hold up the appropriations bill until they take ICE out of the bill. We should not any longer finance ICE. It is absolutely unbelievable. Now, Trump at first came out with the same rhetoric. Terrorists, Now he's saying, well, let's see what happens. We're going to do a thorough investigation, because I think some of the Republicans are even saying this is a bridge too far. Tina Jenkins says, God blessings. This is on our web page, not web page, our message board. Tina Jenkins, good afternoon, blessings, Reverend Sharpton. I think it's a disgrace that the UN, as well as the senators and Congress, is allowing this to keep happening. Everyone is seeing what is going on, and what do we, the people, need to do? I think that we, the people, need to put all the pressure we can phone calls, emails, vigils if we want, and put them to your senator in your state saying you must vote to take ICE out of the appropriations, that they've got to pass appropriations before end of the month, or they're going down to a shutdown. You got to take them out, or I'll never vote for you again. Everybody listening to me can do that. Now, they say that we don't support people with guns. Wait a minute. Rodney Jones, the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, he raised a point that I was going to raise, but I'll read his point. This administration, this is Mayor Jones, this administration is hypocritical. They allowed Kyle Rittenhouse to bring an assault rifle across state lines, shoot 3, kill 2 in Wisconsin, and was acquitted of all the charges. He came to fire a gun. This boy had a concealed weapon that he had a license for that they did not see. So when did y'all decide people could not have legal weapons at a march? When y'all supported Rittenhouse, the right wing. Absolutely outrageous. Absolutely a double standard. And at the same time, they are sending the border czar, Holman, to Minnesota. Former President Barack Obama, former First Lady Michelle Obama has come out and condemned it. And it is among the things we need to talk about today. The other thing is I want to bring up how Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, is suing the Trump administration over the removal of a memorial honoring people enslaved by George Washington. So let me get this right. They want to stop the celebration of Dr. King's birthday and Juneteenth. You got to pay now to go to national parks on their holidays when you used to didn't have to pay. But you want to take down a memorial honoring former slaves that were owned by the President of the United States, first one. So you're getting ready to tell all of us to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country by removing some of what the country did and its leaders did. And you think we're going to sit by and be silent about that? So a lot to talk about. It's Hot Button Monday. Let me get ready to take a break and start taking your calls. I've already read 2 or 3 of your messages. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned. People marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream, and those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old, went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in there. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage, the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III. I wanted to come today on Martin Luther King Day, because Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other hospitals seem not to care about. How can you spend King Day and turn your back on people that are working and not insured right and not given the right wages and not given the right respect when they're taking care of our afflicted, our ill, our infirm? In the name of Martin Luther King, I join the nurses in demanding justice for the nurses. This is not only a labor issue, this is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. It's an issue that black and white, Latino, Asian, all can stand together. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And we are live this Hot Button Monday. And let me say that it is interesting to me that we are seeing a real divide in this country that I've not seen probably in my lifetime. Maybe around the Vietnam War when I was a kid, and I'm stretching because you saw people. Thousands, I think they said 15, 20,000 marched in Minnesota in 0-degree weather around Alex Pretty. 2 weeks after they had marched for Renee Good. And, you know, many of us have said that if you allow this kind of abuse to happen with black folks, it's going to happen to others, and it's happening. Doesn't make us like it, doesn't make it right. It's not about I told you so, it's about we all better fight this. Because these people have no regard for human life. And if we did not have, I remember when we were able under the Obama administration to get the cameras on police. And people say, oh, well, that's cute, but no big thing. Well, we got them made the police wear cameras, which helped in many cases. And we did not get the feds. We tried to get that with the George Floyd bill. They would not pass the George Floyd bill. We didn't have enough votes in the House and the Senate. So Joe Biden, to his credit, did the executive order which made it where you had to have body cameras if you were a federal officer. And many of you all remember he signed the executive order, had George Floyd's little daughter standing with him. I was there, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and others. Of course, when Trump comes in, he kills that executive order because it wasn't law, it was executive order of the president. But the people filming are the ones that made it clear what did and what did not happen to Pretty. If there wasn't no one filming with their cell phones, they would have got away with calling him a terrorist and that he had pulled a gun on them. And it was also a young lady, young sister, that filmed George Floyd. If we hadn't had that film, we wouldn't have seen it and wouldn't have known. So it is absolutely imperative that we stay on these cases. I don't get involved in the case unless I'm invited. I don't get invited unless I make it clear to them I'm not a lawyer for one case. This has to deal with an overall social correction, which we do. All right, let's go to the phones. A lot to talk about today. 1-877-532-5797. Let me say by way of announcements, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And I should not have to tell you, we had members of Congress, the Congress people from Maine and from, from Minnesota. State Attorney General Keith Ellison did his only interview with us over the weekend. We had the bishops from the Episcopal Church that's been out there. Watch it every week. You know whatever's up and moving in this country. I'm going to have those people directly in the mix on Politics Nation, live at 5 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. Then you that in the New York area, be at the Saturday Action Rally. Now, as I keep saying, we're getting ready to move. This Saturday will be the last rally at 145th and Lenox, House of Justice. We're moving for the month of February, Black History Month. The Saturday Action Rallies will be at the Mother AME Zion Church, 136th Street between Lenox and 7th, 9 a.m. to 11. So this Saturday, we are at 145th and Lenox. Then we move the first Saturday in February for 3 or 4 Saturdays for Black History Month to this historic church. Paul Robeson went to the church. Frederick Douglass spoke at that church. Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad went through that church. We're going to do Black History Month there while they're getting our new place ready. And, of course, the National Action Network Convention. I'm very happy. I mean, a little under 2,000 people have already signed up, and I haven't dropped any of the luminaries and dignitaries and celebrities that's coming to the convention this year. I want to see who's coming because they want to get in them workshops, get some plans, and get something done, and network with like-minded people all over the country. So the ones that sign up now, they're my favorite. They're the ones I'm going to make sure get in all the workshops if the rooms is jammed. So go and sign up at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number 1-877 626-4651, 1-877 626 4651. And I think that Cedric Cooper, I'm reading this on our message board. Cedric Cooper says, Reverend Dr. Sharpton, someone said, and I quote, "What you do speaks so loud until I cannot hear what you say," end of quote. Without a doubt, that man of Pennsylvania is setting America up to have a civil war. Well, it certainly seems that they want to divide the country and have a civil war. It definitely seems. Let's not forget, he said when the American Nazis marched in Charlottesville, Virginia a few years ago, it was fine people on both sides. He incited January 6th. So I don't think that's a far-fetched notion that you're saying, no doubt about it. Let me get ready to take a lot of calls. Let's take the break, and we can come back to the phone so that I don't have to break up what nobody said. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
In London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come. There we go. Guys! What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it, Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through. No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We're gonna shine up and shade. Give me a papa glory, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water.
It's been a long time coming, but I know
1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
When they came for the dream.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
Don't take that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone. Keeping it and the knee bone real, to the thigh keeping it bone. real.
If we are to
I'm your
prophesy
host,
to the wind, we must
Reverend Al
first connect
Sharpton.
this body.
Hot Button Monday, whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart. Let's go straight to the phone. Let me go straight to the phones and to our message board. Let's start in Washington, D.C. with Ira. Ira, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, good evening, Ralph Sharpton. Thank you for taking my call. I just want to, off the break, I just want to say that, as we all know, the administration, they monitor your channel and all broadcasts to see who likes, who don't like him, who's going along with him, and everything else. So that's, we're not worried about that, because your disclaimer in the beginning separates that fact from fiction about what your station does not do. We'll get that out of the way. But you know what? I saw the video about a picture of the gentleman that got unalive, in reference to the ICE people. It does show clearly they freeze framed it and showed he had his one hand on the ground and one hand with a cell phone in his other hand. So that was a given right there. But as you know, the accident number 47, he always has a way to switch the narrative and saying these officers fear for their life. That's just some nonsense. Everybody that got sense knows that, but if you don't have that sense, then that's on them. So I know that's just some craziness. And the reason why he's after Minneapolis, because those people in the state of Minneapolis fully voted against him, and he's there for retribution and retaliation because they won't bow down to him. That's one thing I feel, and that's what everybody else probably feel in that state. And another thing, the Department of Homeland Security, they sent a memo to those ICE people that they're going to be protected no matter what, because they are not governed by anything legal, which they have failed to realize that it's a Fourth Amendment. And that's what's going to get them burnt in the end, because the Fourth Amendment states certain things you can and cannot do. And they showed them a memo, brief memo, and told them, don't worry about it. We got this. We got your back. We got you covered. That's why they're doing reckless stuff, because they didn't read the Fourth Amendment. They don't know the Fourth Amendment. So therefore, they're cooked. And my last thing I got to say is this. I just heard an article about the daggone accident. He says that he don't want us to use our 401ks to put a down payment on a house because the rate is up 80%. That means they can't make no money off us because my money is 80% in my 401k. Now, he don't want to use our money. Well, he wants to get money from him. So that's things people got to look out for, because they are not on board with nothing for anybody, for us, and we need to pay attention to these things and enlighten folks. That's my call for today, Brother Sharpton.
All right, thank you for your call for today. Very, very enlightening. Let's go to Brenda in Virginia. Brenda.
Hi, Rev. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm well. Well, always good to talk to you, Brother Rev. First of all, I want to say to your listeners that if you have not went to a NAN convention, then you're missing out. First of all, it's free. FREE. All you have to do is sign up. And it is an event that you will never forget. I have been to many of NAN events as a NAN member, and been an officer and an office holder, a chapter here in Richmond, Virginia. I can't tell those that are listening how important and what Rev brings. And what Rev does, that honestly, being a part of all the organizations, whether it's NAACP, SCLC, being a part of all of those. But one thing I've learned that Rev brings, he brings everyone to you. He brings in those your Congress people and your senators, so that they are right there in front of you. All your local officials around this country. That's very important. So you can be able to ask those questions. There are microphones set up in those rooms so that you can stand there and be able to ask a question when there is a panel going on, that you have a question that you need to ask and you need an answer. So when we're talking about as advocates, as we are, and what Rev have as far as the workshops, so that you'll be able to get this information and be able to go back home and share it in your community. This is what it's all about. We have to be able to share back at communities what we're learning. But once again, you got these people right in your face. And it's not only that, but we want to take you back to your community and learn more about who your representatives are and what rights you actually have. Because a lot of times people don't realize it's your voice that makes the difference. You have that right. So I want to encourage everybody that have not signed up, sign up and get there. It is free, and to attend. You're not going to go to other conventions like this, and you don't have to pay one dime to get in. So I just want to say that, Rev. I'm sorry I took time to do your little spiel, but for those that haven't been, I've been, and I know what it's like. And the young people that Rev put out there, and be able to, so you can hear and you can see what they're doing, and how Rev and Ashley, I was listening to Ashley last week on the show, and how they work with these young people. It's phenomenal. So you got to be there. But what I'm calling about today is, talking about this topic, Rev, with in Minnesota, which is truly heartbreaking to see that. Glenn Youngkin, our former governor that just went out of office, thank God, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin, he entered an agreement and deputized Virginia State Police to assist ICE in rounding up residents. And as of November, there was over 6,200 that was reported. Now,
he authorized them to do what?
He deputized state police. So we got to remember they're in hoods. Okay, we can't see their faces. So you don't know if it's a local state police, a Virginia State Police, or if it's actually ICE. You don't know that because when they call them out, they're putting on those uniforms and it says ICE. So that happens all the time. I can remember it happened in the second George Bush because I have a friend of mine that it's the same thing. He was a sheriff in my hometown, and he was deputized to work in, and I forget what other agency, Homeland Security agency. He was working with Homeland Security because he was hooded. So you don't know who they are. It could very well be someone on a local level that's working on your local state that you don't know because Glenn Youngkin deputized, guess what he did? Virginia State Police to work alongside of ICE. Now, there was over 6,200 that was rounded up. And Glenn Youngkin also used that same excuse as Donald Trump and said that they were only looking for violent illegals. ICE data, this is ICE's own data, suggests that 70% facilities had no, of people that they rounded up had no criminal record. Now, I will say this, thank God, because Abigail Spanberger, Democrat that just got sworn into office, she has moved to end the Virginia State Police as far as working with ICE.
Oh, is that right?
So yes, she did. So that just happened. Thank God. But I'm listening and I'm watching, and I think we got to remember when they got those hoods on like that, we don't know who they are,
right?
Because they could very well be local, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I do know that working closely with Commonwealth attorneys here in Virginia, working with sheriffs here in Virginia, and people were very concerned that there was going to be some kind of push to force them to deputize their officers that did not want to go out there to force them to do this. So far, that part has not happened, that to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. Not to say that it happened in some parts of Virginia, to my knowledge, it has not. But I do know that the state police, and the state police was deputized when Glenn Youngkin first came in. I know that for a fact because in throughout this entire state, what he did was he deputized state police to work alongside of the city police officers because there were many people that got stopped and that called me to come in to advocate. And then I learned very early on within Glenn Youngkin's first 4 years that he deputized, that state police were working alongside the city police officers because they was on the ride and they was out there with people that was calling me to say it was state police with the city police department. And yes, he did that.
Oh.
So we got to be very careful. We don't know, and that's something that I think that's something that we need to start talking about. Is that behind those hoods, we don't know behind those scars on their face. We don't know if that's really a state police, a city police,
right?
Or we have no idea, Rev. I'm telling you that now.
No, you're right. You're right.
Being on the ground like I am, definitely, I know that for a fact.
You are absolutely right. We don't know who we dealing with and if they're masked like that, and to just see on those videos, and I've been out here doing this for decades, this work, to see on the videos, they just surround this man on the ground for helping this woman and just start shooting him. Just an execution. It is frightening that we are living in a time that these people have the backing of the White House and the Congress. I mean, we talk about the back in the day in the Civil Rights Movement, at least Kennedy and Johnson, who Dr. King and Wilkins and that crowd had to march on and pressure, but at least they said this is wrong. We got somebody in the White House now that is blaming the victim for the crime. This is unheard of, Brenda. We've not seen this since the days of Jim Crow at his peak, Woodrow Wilson bringing Birth of a Nations in the White House and playing the movie. This man is saying straight out that I don't care what the facts are, I'm on the side of the ICE folks. They got a right to do whatever they want to do. I'm telling you, if we don't rise up now, this country's going in straight open fascism, already headed there. All right, thank you for your call. Always good to hear your voice. Give my regards to Elijah, Sister Brenda. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all no King's marches and all. But the black called black organization march, they welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. was our March on Wall Street in August, and then our Triumph Award, and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this bill. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C., we do cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York, April for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attended convention last year in 2025. It needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked in the silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you. We need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year, and be focused.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone. You reminded us that change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, as long as we don't give away our power. I also want to recognize my friends, Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, who continue to be such an important part of this movement. Finally, I want to congratulate another great friend, Eric Holder, on this well-deserved honor. Eric was obviously an outstanding Attorney General, and after the career he's had, he could have easily decided to ride off into the sunset. Sometimes I think that his wife Sharon wishes he had, but that's not who Eric is. Instead, over the last decade, he's built the National Democratic Redistricting Committee into a leading force in the fight against gerrymandering. And thanks to them, we've been able to push back some of the worst attempts to undermine our elections. It speaks to Eric's love of country, but also his recognition of how important this work is. He understands that our democracy isn't self-executing. We have to fight for it each and every day. And that's going to be especially true as we head into the midterms later this year. So, thanks to Eric and his team for doing everything they can to put our elections on a level playing field. And thanks to all of you for helping people recognize their own power and put it to good use. Take care, everybody, and God bless.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Hot Button Monday, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Evangelist Ramsey's on the message board, as many are. And she's saying no more tricks in 26. That's the theme of the convention this April. No more tricks in 26. We on the move, still with diversity, equity, and inclusion. 103 weeks they've been marching on Ackman's office. And I say we won't quit. You say there's no quitting in me. I say we the people. You say we have the power. Fight. I love that. Forensic Account is saying, I am a member of NAN because not only do I believe in the work, I never know when I might need them to act on my behalf when I can't act on my own. I'm going to tell you a story about that, but let me bring in my co-host every Monday who joins us to give us insight and information. You know him as the political strategist, as CEO of Blueprint Strategy, LLC, the one and only Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
It's good to be with you, Reb. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. You know, Antoine, there was a giant, I'm sure you've heard of him, that you're too young maybe to know him, but you probably heard of him, Dick Parsons. One of our original black businessmen, was chair of Time Warner for a while. Big black in the industry and a Republican. And I remember that he was on the board with some of the big entertainers of this social club, private membership club. And a friend of mine sometime would want me to meet with some of the business guys, black business guys, that would, help National Action Network as we were getting going. And we walked past where Parsons was sitting this particular evening. And Parsons said, I didn't speak to him because he was sitting there talking to a well-dressed, elderly white guy, and I didn't know, what they were talking about, and I didn't know if he wanted the guy to know he knew me because, as I said, he was a Republican, and I wasn't trying to mess up his business. I was going to my meeting at another table. And he looked up and saw me. He said, "Hey, Reb Mal, how you doing, Reb Mal?" I said, "Oh, okay, Mr. Parsons, how you doing?" And the elderly white fella sitting there with him looked at him like I wasn't even standing there and said, "You know Al Sharpton?" And Dick Parsons said, "Yeah." And Dick looked at me, said, "Did you get my donation to NAN this year?" I said, "I'll check, I don't know." And the guy looked, he says, "You donate to Al Sharpton?" He said, "Yeah." He said, let me explain to you something. He said, let me ask you something. I'm still standing there. He looked at the guy. He said, you have a car? He said, sure. He said, you have insurance? He said, yeah, I have insurance. He said, what kind of insurance you got? Old guy said, I got Geico. He says, okay. He said, have you ever had an accident? He said, no. He said, but you keep your insurance paid up. He said, yeah. He said, I may never need Al Sharpton, but just in case I do, I want him to answer the phone because I'm keeping my insurance paid. I'm going to donate to NAN every year. I never forgot that. I never forgot that. He said, I may never need him now. I'm a big Republican, chair Ty Water. But just in case I need him, I don't want nobody to tell me he'll get back to you. I want him to pick up the phone. My insurance is paid. I never forgot that. And she reminded me that when she said that on our message board. But let me get down to it. Nobody knows the intricacies of what's going on in Washington and elsewhere around the country. The whole move announced by Senator Chuck Schumer that the Democrats in the Senate is going to vote against passing the appropriations in the bill that renewing for government to reopen government or to keep the government open, that they're going to vote against the appropriations unless they take ICE out. And I was on Morning Joe this morning with Senator Warnock, and he says he's voting, and all the Democrats in the Senate is voting. And if they do, they will lack the 60 votes. The Republicans will not have the 60 votes to pass. How serious is that? How solid is it? And what will it mean?
Well, I think the tectonic plates have shifted to some degree, or to a degree that this strategy by Schumer is a must, not a plus at this point. When you see two cold-blood executions on camera in Minnesota for no apparent reason other than because Minnesota will not turn over the election data to the Department of Justice, that just tells you that this moment is not about policy. It's not about people. It's simply about politics. And so you don't fight fire with fire because everything burns down, but you fight fire with a water hose. And I think that's what the Schumer strategy is about. I certainly think that it's what the country is screaming for because no one believes that DHS and its director are operating as it should. I also think that Democrats have to send a message that we are not going to just fall on the sword for the sake of doing business as usual. We have to do unusual business. And as much hell as Schumer takes and Democrats take and he and Jeffries take, believe it or not, they have been strategically picking their battles, Reverend Allen. You know how important that is.
Right.
And these type moments, it pays off.
And I think that, there was one of my mentors used to say, Antoine, that if you see a man on the edge of a cliff and about to go over, give him room, back up, because you don't want to make a suicide that he's doing look like a homicide by you. And I think that the way the Democrats have handled this so far is they backed up and let Kristi Noem and the president, Donald Trump, and the rest just expose themselves. Because
that's right.
For you to step back and say, let the tape speak for itself, don't get in the way of it. Let the tape speak for itself. And that's what I've done all weekend on Politics Nation. Play the tapes, let Keith Ellison on, did his only interview with us, the others on. Just play it. And let them tell folks that you stupid, you're not seeing what you're seeing. And they'll turn more people our way than we could ever turn our way, because they tell them, wait a minute now, I'd be a lot of things, stupid ain't one of them.
Well, Rep, there's an old saying in the Southern music business that says, if you play it, you don't have to say it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what you're speaking to. But what I find to be ironic, Rev, is that the same people who claim to be pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-free speech, but you can murder someone exercising free speech who is a legal gun owner for resisting arrest. Now, Could or should he have been arrested? Maybe. There's a routine interaction with what should have been a routine interaction with law enforcement. Should that have turned into a death sentence? Absolutely not. And now the country is seeing that what black folks have to experience on a regular basis, a broken taillight could mean a broken family for generations for us. And make no mistake about it, America is not like this because Donald Trump is president, Reverend Al. Donald Trump is president because America is like this. And the fact of the matter is there are people who still think these actions of these rogue officers known as ICE, or part fake officers known as ICE, there are people who think it's okay, including the President of the United States. And that's where people have to step up to the plate and respond, Democrats and Republicans. And all of a sudden now the people who are pro-Second Amendment, all of a sudden now they have an issue with people showing up legally with a gun. But nobody said anything when January 6th, when protesters, so they say, showed up with guns. You had protesters show up at the Michigan State House armed with masks and guns. Kyle Rittenhouse protested with a gun. The husband and wife in Missouri, that was okay. So the Second Amendment is okay for conservatives, but not okay when it comes to certain people. And that's where I think we have a real issue in this country.
I think you're right. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go right back to the phone. Let's go to New Orleans to Don. Don, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Yes, very good morning to you, brothers.
Good morning.
And Mentor Al Sharpton. Yes, sir. And, when you said Jim Crow, go back to Jim Crow, Charles Hamilton Houston dismantled Jim Crow. Some say he even killed Jim Crow. Him, Thurgood, and his understudies, Thurgood Marshall, Harold Bulwer, Spotswoods, Robinson, Oliver Hill, attorneys like that. And the reason I'm saying that is when we look at the issue of the federal government attacking these states, going state to state, they went to California, they went to Chicago, and the issue is legal representation. And what I mean by that, we have black people, for instance, it's 15% of the population, U.S. Census, by the U.S. Census standard. And yet we have 5% of attorneys are black or African American. That's underrepresentation legally. And what I'm getting to is when we talk about Dr. King and the Montgomery bus boycott, the issue with the sanitation workers, contracts, when we talk about, we can go all the way back when we talk about segregation on the buses, for instance. Frederick Douglass filed a suit in 1841 in Lynn, Massachusetts, because of whites-only rail cars. In 1854, a sister in New York City, 1854, her name was Elizabeth Jennings Graham. She filed a lawsuit because they had buses for colored people allowed, and she sued, 24-year-old school teacher, she sued the city, the rail company, and won. And same thing in San Francisco. Charlotte Brown sued San Francisco Public Rail. Now, the difference is, Reverend Al, between the opportunity to exercise their civil rights in New York and San Francisco and even in Philadelphia. Brother named Octavia Catto sued a Civil War veteran, sued the city, the public transportation in Philadelphia for the rights to ride any seat that they chose. And the reason is because in San Francisco, in California, for instance, they organized, they protested, Reverend Al, for the right to testify in court. Now, by black people having the right to give their testimony in court, they was able to win their lawsuits. But without organizing, without protesting and raising their voices, same thing happened in New York. When the sister Elizabeth Graham, her father was a minister of a church and a businessman. And when he told her what happened, they rallied outside the church and they filed a lawsuit. They had the ability, they had standing in the courtroom. So in the South, fast forward to the South during the Montgomery bus boycott, you had all white juries, You had no standing in the courtroom. You couldn't testify against a white person. And so that's what the freedom rides from the people trained in New York come into the southern states, trained and riding on challenging the interstate commerce law. And so when we look at what's going on today, we have to remain vigilant and ready to organize and stay ready so we don't have to get ready, because this is coming to a town near you. They're on tour right now. They're on tour. We talk about Prince and Michael Jackson on tour. These MAGA people, they're on tour. And they're coming to a town near you, and let's not let's not sell out. Let's organize in.
Yeah, I like it. All right, let me get to my break. Thank you for your call. Gave us a lot to think about. I think you are absolutely right, giving us that history, because I tell people all the time as we're on this HBCU tour. By the way, Brenda, they're coming to, I'll be at Virginia Union next week. I'll announce it on there. The tour continues this week at Howard and Morgan State. Then we're going into Virginia. But I was telling them that we have more to work with, Antoine, than any generation of blacks in the history of this country. They never had the ways to communicate we have. We have everything. Cell phones, TikTok, you name it. And you can't organize nothing. They had no way of communicating. And they were able to put things together. We need the will. We have many ways to do it. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day, as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove, pulled his pants up, and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid. Because Michael Jackson kept going, he created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other. There are those that like to dig around mess, but millions around the world, we're going to uphold his message. It's not about mess, it's about his love message. As you climb up steep mountains, sometimes you scar your knee, sometimes you break your skin, but don't focus on the scars, focus on the journey. Michael beat him. Michael rose to the top. He outsang his cynics. He outdanced his doubters. He outperformed the pessimists. Every time he got knocked down, he got back up. Every time you counted him out, he came back in. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. I want to thank to Mrs. Jackson and Joe Jackson, his sisters and brothers. We thank you for giving us someone that taught us love, someone that taught us hope. We want to thank you because we know it was your dream too. And we know that your heart is broken. I know you have some comfort from the letter from the President of the United States and Nelson Mandela, but this was your child. This was your brother. This was your cousin. Nothing will fill your heart's loss. But I hope the love that people are showing will make you know he didn't live in vain. And I want his 3 children to know, wasn't nothing strange about your daddy. It was strange what your daddy had to deal with. But he dealt with it. He dealt with it anyway. He dealt with it for us. So some came today, Mrs. Jackson, to say goodbye to Michael. I came to say thank you. Thank you because you never stopped. Thank you because you never gave up. Thank you because you never gave out. Thank you because you tore down our divisions. Thank you because you eradicated barriers. Thank you because you gave us hope. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. And forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host as we kick off another Hot Button Monday. Antoine, give our audience the mechanics of how this moves forward now, the appropriations part of the bill to keep the government going. What goes to the House, what goes to the Senate, what is required to pass at each level that would give them leverage on this ICE money?
Well, they need the Senate Democrats' vote in order to pass this portion of the budget. What I suspect is they're going to break the budget up in pieces to pass it. What came from the House, they need the Senate votes to do so. They need Senate Democrats' votes to do so. Without Senate Democratic votes, they cannot pass the funding budget for DHS for the year. So that means Republicans are going to have to go back to the drawing board and to the table if they want the agency to have a budget, which, as I said, is a must, not a plus for Schumer to have this strategy. The House, the numbers are a little bit different and the scenario is a little bit different. But I suspect if this gets back to the House and it doesn't have what Democrats and Republicans are now asking for, some sense of accountability at DHS as it relates to ICE, and just so happen if they work something out in the Senate, I don't know if it passes the House. And so it's a inside the beltway kind of conversation now, but the strategy that Schumer has implemented and agreed to, I think is very smart and strategic, and it should make a difference in the overall grand scheme of things.
Now, the fact that we're dealing with the midterm elections, a lot of the Republicans are dealing now in purple states. We have, if we came out, and I'm talking about voters in our communities, an opportune time to really score a real upset in terms of the politics. And I think that situations like Minneapolis only adds fuel to the fire of how insensitive and in many cases hostile the Trump administration have been to blacks, to Latinos, and to just general working class Americans. Look at the tariffs that's caused inflation. Look at shutting down the Department of Education. I think that now there is a real sense of awakening that's going on in the country.
Over in his A Knock at Midnight sermon, Dr. King described midnight in the moral order as a time in which moral principles lose their distinction, turning right and wrong into a dirty shade of gray. What we've seen was state-sponsored murder, and then they lied to our faces about what we witnessed. And I think that, to some degree, is going to have consequences, going to have motivation on the midterm election. Now, it doesn't mean this is going to define the election. I want to be very clear. Minnesota is just a pimple on the rhinoceros butt in terms of the grand scheme of things of what we need to be successful. But in Minnesota, every single member of their state Senate, which will determine the majority in that state, is on the ballot. The governor, U.S. Senate races on the ballot in Minnesota. And Minnesota, to some degree, in the eyes of some, is considered a swing state. That's why I believe in all my hearts of hearts that most of this Trump is doing by way of the FBI invading some of these places is, yes, it's sending a racial message, but it's also about getting to the election. The fact that Minnesota would not turn over the election data is the reason why ICE was in Minnesota in the first place. It wasn't about Somalians. It wasn't about the daycares. It was literally because they would not turn over the election data. And Kristi Noem said the quiet part out loud. If they turn over the election data, they will leave. And so people need to wake up that these people are trying to rig elections that will have consequences for the next 4 or 5 generations. And I don't think we should play this as anything less than very, very serious.
A civilization crisis as we know it, no doubt about it. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Word, WURD. Brother Jacob.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your guest, Antoine. You know, you talking about Hot Button Monday? Man, oh, man. And first of all, to your worldwide audience that's listening, you know, it's a lot of Americans been affected by this winter storm, right? And just like we going to get over this storm here, this snowstorm, we going to get over these stormtroopers that we, the American citizens, you know, we see this happening. You know, Reverend Al, every time I read in a book about what happened in Nazi Germany when Hitler was in charge, I imagine this is how it started, right? I'm actually seeing in America, I never thought I would do this, but I see this. And if we say nothing, well, we're doomed. I mean, they're going to keep on doing what they do. But we see the racist, ugly type of government that's in Washington, D.C. You know, Reverend, I thank Minnesota for giving us martyrs, George Floyd and the last two. Reverend Al, we don't slam animals around like they slammed that woman on the ground, right? In the snow. Right. Now, we wouldn't do that to an animal, a dog or a cat. This human man came to the aid of a woman like he was a you mean to tell me you're going to call that person that died in the January 6th insurrection, you called her a martyr, right? But this woman, this man, and the woman that was killed before him, and George Floyd, we can't see what we've seen. Look, we getting ready to celebrate 250 years of this freedom and democracy that our ancestors, I don't care what label you wear. I know there were Irish, black, white, Jewish, LGBTQIA people that died for this Constitution, right? Now, the people in D.C. have no...
Wait a minute, let me take my break. I'm going to let you finish. Let me take my break, and I'll be right back with you. You can finish up, and I'm going to other callers. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get West, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir.
We would go, yeah, we was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation.
Wow.
And that's, of course, that's the slave house. It was one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine.
Right, so that's and we
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James and Jesse.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people come too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started Brother.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about it in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and helped me push the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 40, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But and I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what
people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight in the courts and the streets, because they are literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions. This whole fight around DEI, in which they did, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance as they could fight in the 50s.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Deal with the question from Little Rock.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. And Antoine Suji Ali saying, hello, Reverend Al Sharpton. I just heard on the news that Trump is in court trying to take away rights, the 4 and 5 Amendment away, meaning they don't need a warrant to come into your house and break up your things and just break your door down. I mean, I think, Antoine, that every clear civil right that they can change, they're changing. It is clear to me that a lot of us thought Project 2025 was a joke. They put in writing, it became like their political Bible, that they wanted to bring this country back to pre-segregation days, pre-Jim Crow days, and pre-women's suffrage days. Put women back in the kitchen, gays in the closet, and blacks on the field. That is clearly, to me, what their agenda is.
Well, this authoritarian behavior, Grab, is certainly everything that was in Project 2025 and everything that Trump promised to do if he were elected again, and people did not take him serious. That's why when he says we may not need to have an election this year, I take that very serious, unlike some of the other folks who work in our business and who are in the mainstream media. That's number one. Number two, I think it's important for our community specifically to understand in this moment that progress is nowhere near permanent for anyone, but certainly for us. Everything that our parents and grandparents fought for in 1966 is essentially, in some cases, have gotten worse in 2026. So every day is an effort for us to recommit ourselves to entry level in our fight to protect the progress that we have made in this country. And if we don't keep that attitude when it comes time to elections, when it comes time for advocacy, and when it comes time for sticking together on the issues, Reverend, now it's going to be 6 or 7 generations before we even start to try to make a comeback in terms of what's been done. And make no mistake, what Donald Trump has done in 1 year, it's going to take 30 to 40 years to repair in many ways. And I don't say that trying to exaggerate or trying to make a point or to try to hype things up. The stuff he's done in 1 year is going to take 30 or 40 years to change.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Let's go to the phones. Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD. Brother Jacob.
Yeah. You know, Reverend Al, I was just finishing on the Constitution, and you're pointing to it. All of the elected officials and servicemen took an oath to protect this Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, Ray Charles can see this enemy is domestic now, and we see what we see. You know, Reverend, I know you knew the Winans, the family who sang gospel.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Winan brothers had a tune, said it's time time to make a change. We are the people. We can do it, right?
Right.
And George Clinton of the Parliament Funkadelics had a tune. I mean, he said, whatever it takes, whatever the party called for, America, we see what we got to do. Save this republic.
Right.
Right, Reverend Al?
Right.
Okay. Thank you, man.
I love
Keep
it.
on doing what you do, brother.
I'm gonna try.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Let me go to. Let me on the message board. I see Tricia in 1989. This is happening in real time. Orange is a demon devil dog walking backwards in real time. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where this come from. All right, let me read something. I know what they're saying. All right. Let's go to the phone. Let me go back to the phone. Let's go to Leon in Dallas, Texas. Leon, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. And Antoine
good afternoon.
Seawright. Antoine Seawright.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
You know, Al, when we talked Friday, we were talking about Miss Good. And
we were talking about what?
The lady who got shot.
Yes.
In Minnesota.
Right.
It's good. And now we're talking about a gentleman who got shot Saturday.
Right.
And you know, we talked. You're familiar with the writer Paul Revere when they said the British are coming, the British are coming.
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, we've been talking for a while. We've been saying the fascists are coming, the Nazis are coming, and unfortunately, now they're here.
Right.
And so the issue is now, what are we going to do to stop this? Because as Goebbels, one of Hitler's subordinates, said, if you tell a lie enough to people, they'll start believing it.
Right.
So they want you to not believe your lying eyes. The guy didn't pull his gun. He had the gun in his back. He had a camera in his hand. When one of the ICE guys pulled the gun out of his waist from the back, then they shot him 10 times.
Right.
And you remember I mentioned people need to see an autopsy picture of what it's like for somebody to get shot in the face, somebody gets shot 10 times. Well, what other group did you know of, Reverend Al, in American history that wore a mask and went different places and terrorized people?
Well, I don't know all of them, but I know one was the Klan,
right?
That's right. The Klan definitely operated in a mask. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. So what we have is a 2026 version of the Klan. And the Klan was before the Nazi Party.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
the Klan came. The Klan came right after Andrew Johnson succeeded Lincoln and started pulling back on Reconstruction. The Klan came in the streets to enforce the end of Reconstruction and to put blacks back in what ended up being Jim Crow. That is correct.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Very familiar.
Okay, so the issue is now, what are we going to do about it? You know, I'm a computer guy, in case you didn't know it. I got a big degree in computer science. And we believe in 1 and 0, on and off. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I'm kind of looking at my little crystal ball, and I'm saying exactly what Mr. Seawright said. When Trump said that his election was going to be the last one, he wasn't joking. And you can look and see what he's been doing since he's been in office. He has not been joking. He's still not joking. So we're going to have to be triple up, double up, or whatever they call it, to make sure that there's going to be an election this November. And there's going to be an election where it's going to be a fair election, that he can't rig it electronically, like he said, well, Elon Musk rigged the election using computers. You said one time before when I talked to you, you won't put nothing past him. And we have saved this country from itself numerous times. And I'm saying, that's history. And a lot of our white brethren are going to have to start looking reality in the face and seeing that just because if you don't support the MAGA agenda, it will shoot you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so if you want to be free, happy, democratic, or anything you want to call it, you are going to have to stop this thing before it gets to a point that they call too late. And that word has a meaning.
Right.
And we don't know what history is going to say 20 or 30 years from now because we got to get there first. And when Mr. Seawright said, and I'm going to echo his sentiments again, I wish I was that articulate. We got to make sure that we have the election and we vote in the election because Trump gave us a really great suggestion. He said when he was speaking to his group, he says if they get the House and the Senate, they're going to impeach me.
Yeah.
Remember when he said that?
He said that. And Steve Bannon said if they get the House and the Senate, he's in a room full of all of the MAGA folk. He said we're all going to jail. He knows they breaking the law.
Mm-hmm. And so, and again, I'm speaking to my white brethren. You guys are paying tariffs. You guys lost your health insurance. You guys, all this different stuff. The farmers lost their labor. You see what I'm saying? Start going by character instead of color. You need to stop. You need to stop this while you got a chance.
Yep.
Because if you keep going in this direction, you either do what the MAGA say do, or they will cut you off. I watched a little bit of the movie Civil War. Watch the first part of that movie.
Wow.
You get a real deep idea of what could happen.
I love it. Thank you for your call, Leon. Got to take my break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Seawright, right back. As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned. People marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now as we bring our children and grandchildren up to Potomac that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream. And those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old, went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatory, was going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south. A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond, and I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom.
Now, Sharpton, Antoine C. Wright is our co-host, as he is every Monday as we kick off the week with Hot Button Monday. Antoine, as we look at the Congressional Black Caucus, and I had the vice chair on over the weekend on Politics Nation. It seems that their agenda has been forthright and very straightforward in terms of trying to stop not only what the president is doing with ICE, but reminding us of other things that he's trying to get through with this spending bill. Give us an idea of where the Congressional Black Caucus is and what the aims are, because sometimes a lot of the so-called mainstream media does not give them the attention they deserve.
Black Caucus is doing two things, Rep. They're blocking and they're tackling. Simple as that. With the understanding that they're punching above their weight. It's no secret that Republicans control the House, the Senate, the presidency, and I would argue the courts. And so what the caucus is doing their best job of allowing their political defense to be their offense at the same time, not losing sight of this unnecessary, unwarranted affordability crisis that Donald Trump and the majority party has not only created but refused to do anything about, to include 25 million Americans who see their premiums, copays, and deductibles rise to the point where it's going to literally cause people to die. Raising the flag and raising the issues about the largest cut to Medicaid in American history by way of the Big Ugly Bill, as well as the largest cut to SNAP benefits in American history by way of the Big Ugly Bill. And at the same time, not losing sight of the fact that you have Congressional Black Caucus members like in New Jersey who have been unlawfully accused of things she has not been done, facing penalties, so we're fighting that. Congressional Black Caucus member Maxwell Frost was assaulted this weekend at an event, not losing sight of that. And then keeping our eyes on the prize as it relates to the most consequential issue of our day, voting rights, and what this court could or could not do, making certain that we're keeping up with all the redistricting fights across the country. And then last but not least, make certain that we stay on the front line and in touch with the issues that matter to everyday Americans, not just Black Americans. I think, Reverend Al, people try to pigeonhole the Congressional Black Caucus as if they can only deal with black issues. Well, I'm here to tell you that members of the Congressional Black Caucus represent other constituencies too. And so their fight is our fight, and our fight is their fight, and we've got to give them the support they need, although we do not apologize for majoring in black issues, because those are certainly the issues that carry the weight in the day of America.
Now, in terms of our dealing with all of that, the economic issues, business issues, quality of life issues, our voting rights, all at stake, what are the critical, your political strategists, what are the critical races in the midterm election this year? We're not going into next year. It is the next year. It's 26 now. This election, primaries are getting ready now. What are some of the key bellwether races you would suggest we keep our eye on, which will tell us which way the nation is going?
Well, we were talking about the Congressional Black Caucus, so I'll stay there. There are, I think, 4 or 5 black members who are considered frontline members. That means they're in districts that Donald Trump has won or that does not have majority black population. In fact, they have less than 10% of black population in those districts. Amelia Sykes is one, African-American from Akron, Ohio. You have Don Davis in North Carolina is another, Johanna Hayes in Connecticut, and then the young lady in Oregon, who's the newest member of the caucus. Those are just ones I can rattle off the top of my head. There are others who are certainly also close in terms of population and the makeup of the district. So I think those are certainly a priority for the caucus, in particular for the Congressional Black Caucus, and certainly for America. If you zoom out a bit, Reverend Al, and you think about the holistic map, we have a very critical seat that's a must-keep in Georgia with John Ossoff. We have a must-win opportunity in North Carolina with Roy Cooper, who's my friend and a dear friend, the former governor. In Michigan, you're going to have all the battleground Michigan, where you're going to have all the statewide offices up for re-election, as well as a Senate seat that's going to determine the balance of the Senate. We talked earlier on the program about how important Minnesota becomes now, with Tim Walz not running for re-election. Every member of the state Senate there, as well as all the Constitution offices, that's going to be important. A Senate seat in Wisconsin is going to tell a critical story. You can't forget about battleground Pennsylvania, where Josh Shapiro and Lieutenant Governor Davis are on the ballot, as well as other statewide races. And then if you continue to zoom out a bit, because of what has happened with redistricting, we don't know what happens with Emmanuel Cleveland in Missouri. We certainly do not know what will happen in places like Louisiana with Troy Carter and Cleo Fields and what they do with redistricting. And then if you zoom down to Florida, Reverend Al, you think about what DeSantis has already promised he's going to do in redistricting. We don't know what that means. And so I would just argue that every race is important, not just the federal elections, but the local prosecutor elections that are important, mayoral races, county commissioner races, state court races. All these races are going to be important, and the country is going to swing on whether or not black folks are energized and ready to get out and vote either against Donald Trump or for our issues.
Let's go to Rick Johnson in Atlanta, Georgia, WAOK. Rick Johnson.
Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
And, Mr. Seawright, good to see you this morning on Morning Joe with my pastor,
Okay.
Dr. Raphael Warnock.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put my 2 cents in. It's appalling in this country what's going on, this country under this president. But it's not like the country was not warned. What I battle with every day since this previous election that we had in this country, America, you knew better. You knew better. This man was elected prior. He gave us a taste of what he was about during those times of his first administration. He had people there to slow his road. He come back, lost election, came back, won an election. I don't know, Reverend Al, what the heck American people are thinking about. I argued the point during that last election. How in the world can anybody, particularly working class people of all races, Support a man that's telling you what he's going to do if he got elected. Now we all surprised. It's insane. Where is the common sense of American people of all races? Where's your conscience? The conscience of America. When someone tell you who they are, believe them. Quote Dr. Angelo. He told us who he was. Not only he told us, he showed us. And the country supported him. I argued the point in my local barbershop all the time. The brothers that look like me, how in the world would you all sit here and argue the point for a man that you know don't mean you no good? It means that your race is no good. The biggest con ever been put forth in modern times on American people was Donald Trump. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Right now, the American people are suffering. People right at this moment don't have health insurance. Last year, this time, they had affordable care. A year later, no health insurance. Prices out the roof. The world is at turmoil. No man at the helm. His administration is on a rampage. Destroy, kill American people. We saw execution this past weekend.
No doubt about it.
Execution. The question, what are we as American people of all races, a people of goodwill, going to do about it?
That's the question.
Are we going to register? Are we going to register to vote starting now? And are we going to vote?
That's the question. Thank you for your call. That is the question. On our message board, Lady Bug is saying the idiots are going on Trump possibly giving them another stimulus check. Pure fools. Well, if that's what they're going with, I agree with you. They're pure fools. And Joanne Kemp is saying, Nikki Giovanni said, ain't they got no shame? Well, I don't think they got no shame, Antoine, because they telling you in your face anytime. You could tell not only black people, but everybody that what you are looking at is what you're not seeing. Don't believe your lying eyes as they execute a white man who worked in the Veterans Hospital, take care of government servicemen, and kill him broad daylight and tell you, no, you don't see what you're seeing. Then, hey, they ain't got no shame.
Well, Red, these are the same people. You got to remember, these are the same people who told us that January 6th was a peaceful protest.
Right.
When we saw what we saw. They told us there were good people on both sides at Charlottesville. And so we should not be surprised about their response. We should be surprised to how we have responded to them when they keep showing us over and over again.
Or not responded. Exactly right. And let's not forget that as they have done this, they're probably laughing, trying to see how much they can get away with. Let's take another break. We're coming right back on the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. See right. Be right back. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore. And as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team, and Andrea Waters King and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
Tradition to be standing with nurses and standing with those that should be getting wages for saving the lives and caring for people that the private hospitals and other hospitals seem not to care about. How can you spend King Day and turn your back on people that are working and not insured right and not given the right wages and not given the right respect when they're taking care of our afflicted, our ill, our infirm? In the name of Martin Luther King, I join the nurses in demanding justice for the nurses. This is not only a labor issue, this is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. It's an issue that black and white, Latino, Asian, all can stand together, because those that want to make profits out of people's illness rather than pay for those that care for them, that stand for them, that are there when their families are not there in some cases. So we had to come on King Day. Many of the dignitaries came to the House of Justice, but I left to come and stand here with them to let them know that Martin Luther King Day is a day to stand up for those that are standing in the cold, but they never left the patients in the cold. No justice. No peace. 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 All right.
Dr. Richardson, most of all, let me thank Reverend Al Sharpton for bringing us all here together today. The Urban Action Network, I am proud to be a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But I am mindful that I wouldn't be here if it had not been for Reverend Al Sharpton running for president, and Carol Moseley Brown running for president, and Jesse Jackson running for president, and Shirley Chisholm running for president. They paved the way, and I stand on their shoulders.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
I celebrate the day you were born. You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
For over 3 decades, the National Action Network has stood on the front lines for our communities, fighting for justice, lifting up the voiceless, and showing up where it matters most. Presidents, world leaders, and global changemakers have all testified to Reverend Al Sharpton's impact and National Action Network legacy of good trouble in the fight for equality. This holiday season, our commitment grows even stronger. We're expanding food distributions, toy drives, and direct support for families who need us now more than ever. Stop right now and join the movement.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke. Reverend Al Sharpton. Right is our co-host. Antoine, let's go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. WURD.
Great to be here, gentlemen. Too many hot buttons this Monday, Rev. And I haven't spoken with you since MLK Day, and I just want to thank you for your testimony beside Martin III and Andrea Waters King. It was beautiful. And for anybody who hasn't found time to receive Dr. Bernice King's sermon delivered at Ebenezer in Atlanta, it was maybe her best, most prophetic speech. And so if you haven't had a chance to see that yet, anybody listening, please do. It will restore your soul. My wife and I attended an amazing social justice synagogue here, Rev, in Philly, Beth and Israel, who are in partnership with Philly's historic Zion Baptist Church, and it was beautiful. And Rev, all I really want to do is focus on and uplift positive stuff. I really don't ever like traumatizing myself or this audience with bad or sad or toxic information. Because you do too much positive work. Nan does too much positive work. Antoine C. Wright, all the excellent work of the Congressional Black Caucus, which is the conscience of Congress. All I want to do is uplift everything y'all do. And I want to spend time on social media promoting Keeping It Real and Roland Martin and Don Lemon and Mark Elias's quintessential democracy docket. But then I'm there, Rev, and I'm scrolling on social media to do just that. And I come across madness. A few days ago, I saw footage of an ethnically diverse group of manosphere influencers, including Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate, in the back of a party bus in Miami, singing along to Kanye's new song, whose chorus, Rev, is N-word Heil Hitler. That's the chorus of Kanye's new song. Did you know that, Rev?
No. What is it? What is it again?
The chorus. I don't know what the song is called, but this footage shows these guys, these white MAGA neo-Nazis, in the back of a party bus in Miami, and playing over the, as they're sitting there laughing, is Kanye's new song. And the chorus of the song is N-word Heil Hitler. And he says it over and over again. And it's got one of these guys doing a Sig Heil and saying, Jews mad, Jews mad. Anyhow, I remember that same Kanye West and his neo-Nazi friend Nick Fuentes, Rev, were Trump's Mar-a-Lago dinner guests right around Thanksgiving of 2022. And then I remember that speech that Trump gave at Mar-a-Lago announcing his candidacy. And Rev, I don't know if you remember, Antoine, I don't know if y'all remember, but Trump said, because I think most of us want to black this stuff out of our heads. Trump said this about President Xi of China, quote, I call him king. He says, no, I'm not the king. And I say, yes, you are the king. You're president for life. It's the same thing, end quote. So that's the information war we're in. Our president is the gracious subject of the one he calls king, President Xi of China. If we're to take him at his word. I don't know if we should, right? But, Rev, I remember when Trump's chief funder, Elon Musk, told the Financial Times on May 11th, 2022, quote, Chinese workers are burning the 3 a.m. oil, whereas in America, people are trying to avoid going to work at all. And then, Rev, so that was May of 2022, okay? In February of 2024, that same Elon Musk posted on X, quote, put never went to therapy on my gravestone, end quote. Now, Rev, Antoine, do y'all remember on October 7th, 2024, no, not the 2023 October 7th, again, what day is that? That's Putin's birthday. On October 7th, 2024, Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson that he would be sent to prison. Elon told him. He said, I will be sent to prison if Trump doesn't win the election.
Elon Musk said this on an interview with Tucker Carlson.
On October 7th, 2024, Rev, broadcast on X. Anybody who wants to look it up, just go to X, and there's clips of it. Elon told Tucker that if Kamala won, if Trump didn't win, Elon would be sent to prison, and they laughed about it, okay? Now, hold that, and I'm going to add one more thing before I go. In September of 2025, New York Times investigation, describes multiple allegations by multiple family members against Elon Musk's father, Errol Musk. And these include two of his daughters, that would be Elon Musk's sisters, and a stepson. The earliest allegation dates to 1993, when Errol Musk's then 4-year-old stepdaughter, Jana, allegedly told relatives that he touched her inappropriately, and describes additional claims by this former stepdaughter later on, including an allegation that she found him sniffing her dirty underwear when she was a teenager. That same former stepdaughter, Jana, Rev, recently birthed one or two of Errol's latest children.
Wow.
So all of this as Elon continues his quest to become the world's first trillionaire.
Yeah.
Rev, that's it. Bless
Thank you for
taking
your
my
call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go.
Guys! What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We've got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom, let my people go, go. We never shine, never shake. Give me a papa God, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water.
It's been a long time coming, but I know
1968, Dr. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
When they can't kill the dreamer.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory.
I'm your host, Reverend Al
And
Sharpton.
I told him, I said,
and
you know,
Quan Seawright is our co-host. Don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. I will not waste your time. I have the biggest and best in the thick of the issues. I'll get on the phone, call folk myself and say, no, I need you to come on the air. We need to talk about it. And I don't just have a lot of theory guys. I watch some shows and they get their friends from college. I believe, get me the senators, get me the members of Congress, get me the governors, get me people. All right, you give me the numbers, I'll get them. I want to ask them direct that's in the thick of the fight. Times are too serious to be philosophical. And then we have commentators that are on the ground, like Antoine, has done my show several times. I believe in action analysts, action commentators, rather than some studio academic revolutionaries, sit up and theorize and never been on the battlefield. So make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 every Saturday and Sunday. Then you in the New York area, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally. We're at the House of Justice one more week at 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then we're going, starting February, Black History Month, we're going all 4 weeks to the historic Mother AME Zion Church in Harlem, 136 between Lenox and 7th. And we'll do the rally and broadcast from there. Of course, we're on Impact Television and our own live stream on National Action Network.net, as well as we're on YouTube. We'll be live from the church that month. Historic Church, Frederick Douglass spoke there. Paul Robeson was a member of the church. Madam C.J. Walker was funeralized there. So I want to do Black History Month at a historic spot, and then we move into our new big House of Justice headquarters. And the convention, National Action Network Convention, April the 8th through the 11th at the Sheraton, Times Square in New York. All our sessions free. I've already booked some of our major elected officials, major candidates for president. I mean, you know how we do it. I'm not releasing the name probably for another week, but I want you to sign up because we are getting the ballrooms for our workshops by registration. So go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or call the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651. Let's go to Atlanta, Georgia, WAOK, to Deborah. Deborah, you're on with Sharpton and C-Ray.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you for taking my call. Reverend Sharpton, I'm going to say something, and I mean it. I'm Democratic, but I'm really sick and tired of Democratic Party being retroactive instead of proactive. I mean, why did they have to wait until this happened? Why didn't they take these steps for Renee Good? They definitely had an opportunity. They've had plenty of opportunity. And when we all see what ICE has been doing, why didn't they take these steps even before Renee Good? When we see what they're doing, why did it have to get to the level, well, we'll just wait till they murder somebody or kill someone? When we see the whole world actually sees what they're doing, but they sit like a bunch of wussies and don't do absolutely nothing. And I'm just sick of it.
Yeah, well,
what is your opinion on that?
Let me say this, and thank you for your call. I think that I understand the frustration with the Democrats. Nobody's been more frustrated than me. That's why I ran president to challenge the party. But I think that the question that can be raised right properly by Deborah is why did we wait until this happened? I think the party can also ask that of those of us in the community that didn't vote or that said, I'm not voting for a woman. Because many millions of us did come out and some of us did not. And we saw it coming, which is why we were out there. I went on a whole tour trying to get people to get out to vote. And the Democrats did put up the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. They did put up other acts. And we gave them a Republican Senate and a Republican Congress. So I think that you are right to hold the Democrats accountable, but they have a right to respond and say, but y'all didn't come out in the numbers that you had. If we had come out in higher numbers in Milwaukee, in North Carolina, in Pittsburgh, and Philly, Kamala Harris would have won those states and she'd have been president of the United States. So the Democrats gave us a right candidate. We didn't come out in the numbers that we want. We are not challenging the people in our own house. Antoine, you might want to respond to that.
Well, yeah, I personally get a little offended when people say what the Democrats are not doing, because I would argue what have the Republicans have done. When Renee Good was murdered, it was Democrats the one who spoke out. So much so to the point to the press secretary went to the podium and defended the action. It was members of the House, the Senate, it was governors, it was state officials all across the country speaking out about Renee Good, and that's the only reason why it garnered some of the attention it got in committees. That's part of the reason why the funding of DHS was on the line. That's the reason why House Democrats voted in, for the most part, by and large, together in rejecting the funding of ICE. This was before this incident that recently happened of the doctor being killed. So when people say Democrats are not doing this, that, and the third, I take issue to that because I'm in the fight with those Democrats. Now, we can't help what the mainstream media reports or does not report on. That's out of our control. But to say the Democrats are not fighting, I think that's intellectually dishonest. And second, and most importantly, I would argue that when was the last time anyone said, let me highlight what the Democrats are doing? Because who's talking about affordability? Not the Republicans, it's the Democrats. Who's fighting for your health care? Not the Republicans, it's the Democrats. Who's fighting to rein in ICE? Not the Republicans, it's the Democrats. Who's doing the fight? And so when people say, well, Democrats are not doing this and not doing that, I would just argue maybe we should just lean in a little more and pay attention to what the Democrats are doing and highlight that, because if we keep talking about what people or the perception about what Democrats are not doing, we're not going to make progress, and people are going to get back into the same posture they were in 2024, saying Democrats did not do anything for me, either not vote or vote against their own best interest, and the country was worse off. There are a lot of people who yelled and screamed, radio hosts, and others who said, well, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did not do anything for me. I didn't benefit from their presidency. But now 25 million Americans are paying insurance premiums that they cannot afford, and that was a policy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and you don't see or hear those people saying anything. So we've got to make sure we inhale and exhale the right information, not just repeat a narrative we read or see from some who have their own agenda online.
Let's go to Forrest in West Palm Beach, Florida. Forrest.
Hello, Sharpton and Do Right. First of all, I was wondering if you give me a few minutes just to say this here on your program. I said it before. I want to say it again, but here's the thing. I'm a Democrat, first of all. We have did so many things and tried so many ways. Martin Luther King, what he did it out of love, not with a gun, not with something to kill. When he did, I wasn't there, but you was there. When he created all those march, it was all kinds of colors that was in that march. It was black, white, purple, green, whatever you want to call those people. They was all there. All of them still love what Martin Luther King did when he was on his walks. Now, here's what I'm saying, because I'm just nobody trying to say something. If we can get together like the ones who did We Are the World concert for Africa, the ones who put that together here's a couple of people, was Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson. Those ones are still living. If we can reach out to them, someone with some kind of power can reach out to Lionel Richie, Cyndi Lauper, Bruce Springsteen, Jay-Z wasn't there, and President Bush. If you can get all of them together, if you can get Republicans and Democrats to come together on the stage and get to each one of them, not just their heart, but to their belly. One thing that I know as black people back in the day is they always got to a person to their belly or either their heart. Now, we can get them and get some black leaders. If they can all get together on the same stage, what I'm saying about concerts and stuff like that, all of these are ones that's not out saying anything. The important people, if they can be seen on the same, President Bush, where is he? He's not saying anything. I'm sure you don't like what's going on. If we can get all of them on the same stage, then you can probably get the younger generation, the older generation. You can get the country singers together. If you can get all of them, I guarantee you, everybody going to come out to listen.
All right, well, let me respond. Well, first of all, I was not there with Dr. King. I was too young. I joined the year he died, but I was trained by the ones that were with him, Reverend William Jones, Jesse Jackson, and they had the marches like that. And we've had them with blacks and whites. Problem is, I think that there's a misnomer. Martin Luther King never had all blacks and all whites. He had those that were black and white that wanted to be involved. We've got to work with those that want to be involved. We've never had the majority. And you got to remember, the March on Washington in '63, the iconic march, drew 250,000 people. It wasn't called by Martin Luther King. It was called by A. Philip Randolph and Labor. King was the speaker where he did I Have a Dream. We never had a million-man march till '95. So, and I'm saying that not to discount what you're saying, Forrest. I'm saying that to say we don't need everybody to make change, because King didn't have everybody, but he made change. You need the committed percentage, which we have, if we can energize them and bring them out. Secondly, I think you have a real good idea about trying to do something like We Are the World was done. I think the one that really put that together was Quincy Jones. It wasn't Lionel and Michael and I were very close till he died. I spoke at his funeral. Michael and them were organized by Quincy Jones. You need somebody in that field that everybody respects and try to pull it together. But I think that's a real good idea. Thank you for your call. Let me, I have several callers I didn't get to. Call me first tomorrow. I'm on tomorrow. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.